Hello friends, Jeff here from House of Heresy, and today I want to do something a little bit different than what we've been doing with all the pack cracking episodes. As I'm sure everybody knows, we're moving into the celebratory anniversary season for Magic. They're doing their Magic 30 big celebration down in Las Vegas at the end of this month, October of 2022. And then they're releasing all sorts of products, promos, all the sets that they've releasing this year have some sort of tie back, more or less, to all the past Magic the Gathering history. So I wanted to kind of just go through and share what my experiences were. So what my personal Magic 30 has been. Maybe not quite that long. I started a few years after it kicked off, but I was still pretty close to the beginning there. So I pulled some cards out, and I just kind of want to talk through them, and then go through, how Magic has been a part of my life since I first started playing it. This will be a multi-part series, minimum of two. I haven't decided if I want to do a third one or not yet. So expect to see a few more leading up to the Magic 30 event in Las Vegas, which I will be attending. So very excited about that. So let's go ahead and get started. So I began playing Magic in my middle school years. So probably it was 93, 94, somewhere in there. Basically, I started when I started playing Magic. Ice Age either just came out or was coming out. So this was like is still very much in the reserve list era, but it was in kind of the downturn. Like I don't remember Fallen Empires coming out. I just remember it being there. So I'm pretty confident it was Ice Age. It was when I first started playing, and the very first expansion that I remember being released and being excited about was Homelands. So all the big Magic cards were still in circulation, more or less. I mean, there was definitely alpha and beta cards in circulation. We all knew of the Power Nine. We definitely didn't call it that back then, but we all knew what a Black Lotus was. We knew what the Moxen were. None of us obviously saw them because this was a few years removed from that initial release, and we were all just poor middle school kids just playing Magic with what we had available to us. So I never saw any of those personally. But I definitely remember the few sets that I was playing with when I was there. Unfortunately, I honestly don't know what happened to all my childhood Magic cards. I have spent a lot of time digging through anything I can think of that might have had them. The best I can think of is maybe I'd given them to my stepbrother at the time when I left for college. But I really don't know. I'm not sure. I did, however, going through some old baseball cards in search of them, I did find two. So these two are the only cards I have left from my childhood. Not the most exciting, but they're still, in their own way, they're kind of iconic. Like Circle of Protection, the Circle of Protections were all pretty well known at the time. Now I don't know anybody who would actually play them. I don't know. I mean, I can't even imagine in like Legacy or Vintage they would, but and then Shatter, just because the art was so iconic, the Tin Man there. So. And they actually ended up being in halfway decent position, halfway decent condition. So they were just mixed in with a whole box of baseball cards that I had. So at least I have these. That part I'm kind of happy about. I was definitely the deck that I remember for sure building was the Singer family. So in Homelands, you had the Baron, the Grandmother, Irene, the Castle. I want to say there was one or two non-legendary creatures that were part of it. And they so that was like my biggest theme deck that I remember from back then. I definitely played a lot of green stompy stuff with the different worms from Ice Age and from the other Corsets that were out. And the stuff that was around. I mean, I definitely own some of the older sets. I very much remember some of the dark cards that I had. Like when I see pictures of them, it triggers a lot of memories. But I don't. And then I definitely had a few. The Arabian Nights was still in existence. Antiquities. I really don't remember any of the Legends cards specifically, but I think I definitely would have seen them in circulation there. So, and then the two big cards from my childhood that like we all wanted were the Jester's cards. So, Jester's Cap and Jester's Mask. These cards themselves were not my childhood cards. I did own them at different times. We traded heavily with all the cool high powered Ice Age cards, which looking back, none of them really held even the value that we had for them back then. But I did pick these two up partly out of nostalgia and partly because the kids these days just don't know what these cards are all about when I play them. But they're in my Traxxas artifact deck, so at least I can say that I have some of the iconic cards of my childhood. So I played for a few years, and then my friends and we all moved into playing some of the other CCGs back then. Star Wars was a real big one. The Star Wars CCG. I definitely have those cards. I have multiple sets of like the Star Wars A New Hope set, the Dagobah set, and then a bunch of the original set cards when they first came out. I it is what it is. I'd love to still have my Magic cards, but maybe I'll stumble upon them one day, but just I don't have them now. So then I took a big break. I've been a lifelong 40K player and fantasy Warhammer player, I guess would be the better term. So I played those for many years, and I tend to play that more consistently than I do any of the cardboard games that have played. So I spent a lot of time. I went out to college, joined the army, was deployed, came back, moved out west. I was originally an East Coaster, moved out west, settled down in Nevada, and at about 2009-ish, I actually got back into Magic again because my all my friends I was playing Warhammer with at my local store that we all played at wanted to get back into it. So I came in right around the time that M10 released, and all the Alara block was still very present. I vaguely remember Zendikar coming out post that, but I played for a good year or so, and then I had a couple decks that I kept. I had a ton. I bought a lot of M10. I had like binders full of all the rares and stuff. Which, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that set didn't really retain a ton of value, so not a huge deal. I mean, it'd be nice to have them, but I did keep my two favorite decks. And my two favorite decks were, I had a mill deck with cards like Traumatize and Haunting Echoes in it, and then some of the good cards from the Alara block, like Nemesis of Reason and Thought Scour, things like that. There's a few more. And then I also had a Relentless Rats deck. So I kept those two. I still have them. I've taken a few cards out here and there to throw into commander decks, although I'm trying to pull them all back into them to maintain the quality of them. And then I also obviously had all the lands and stuff like that. Again, not the most crazy valuable, but at least pretty much every card in those decks I have play sets of. So like I actually do have a play set of M10 Time Warp, which is kind of cool. I play it so. At this point, this was where I actually played some competitive Magic in the very loosest sense of the word, just at the local game store, going in for tournaments, playing standard, constructed. I'm sure I did a draft or two. I just don't really remember it that well. And then life happens. Things. I ended up. I was in school at the time, so I graduated college at that point after my second foray there. And then stopped playing Magic. I was getting actually the real reason I got rid of all this stuff was I was getting ready to go off to the Army's flight school, and I was going to be gone from home for 18 months. I didn't want to store a bunch of stuff. Didn't want to take a bunch of stuff with me outside of. I already hate this. The space I'd carved out for hobbies was all Warhammer, so I took all that with me. So I gave away or traded away pretty much all my bulk Magic stuff there, and that was that for a few years. Once I came back from flight school, the group of friends that I was playing with Warhammer and stuff, they had consistently been Magic players the whole way through. So you'll find a theme here as I go through the rest of these where they coax me in, I get into it, and then I back out again. So I'm missing a spot here, as you can tell. I came back during the Amonkhet block next, and I do not have any of those cards, unfortunately. I didn't have a ton of them. For me personally, the Egyptian theme just didn't really resonate with me that well. So like I didn't have a lot of like the cards didn't hold a lot of personal appeal. Um, and like a big part of why I enjoy Magic is not just playing the game, but also enjoying the cards and the art and the themes and all that stuff. So the that just really didn't resonate with me that much. I played for a bit for Amonkhet and a little bit in the transitionary period into Hours of Devastation, and then I stopped playing. And I held on to those cards at the time. I just wasn't playing, and I kind of lumped these together because that's kind of another one of my lost periods of Magic in terms of my collection. So then I again briefly came back around the Corset 19 time period there. So my friends were like, hey, they got all these cool Commander things, which was a format I'd never heard of, never really was not on my radar at all. But they had the 2019. Might have been Commander 18. I don't remember. It was the one that had I think it was Windgrace and what's the creepy girl planeswalker, little girl planeswalker. I can't think of her name. Just got reprinted. Anyways, it was that Commander set, and then Corset 19 was out as well. So I bought the set of Commander boxes. I got a bunch. I got three booster boxes of 19. And that had just released because I actually had almost a full playset of Nexus of Fate. I remember that. And I got all the stuff, but the group just wasn't really playing a lot, even though they talked me into coming back. So the stuff just ended up sitting there. And then one of my friends, at the time, I was traveling a fair bit for long periods of time. So my one friend would come and house sit and dog sit for me while I was gone. So as a way to thank him, for one of the visits, I just gave him all those Magic cards. I had an unopened box of Core 19, all my Amonkhet stuff, all my C19 stuff, the Commander boxes, all that stuff, the Nexus of Fates, everything. Just gave them to him, and then just maintained those couple decks of M10. So so that one was pretty brief, but I did accumulate a little bit of a collection there, and then got rid of it, unfortunately. So then, next time I have a brush with Magic, it's actually during the initial stages of COVID in 2020. I'm waiting to be told when I am allowed to go to leave for a deployment. We were in lockdown, so couldn't go to our mobilization site, couldn't leave the country, so I was just chilling. And I ended up just on a whim, just downloading Magic the Gathering Arena and started playing that. And Ikoria had just come out, had just come out. And somehow I got into, I think I had drafted, it was either drafted or a sealed deck, because I got one of the tokens. I picked up the Ikoria set pre-release deal that gives you like the event tokens that you can spend on draft or sealed or whatever. So I did one of those and somehow came across Gruta, Doom of the Depths, and in this particular format. So this card is not from that time, but it represents that time. And you wouldn't think, whatever, it's just a card nobody plays. But it quickly became my favorite deck. And I've consistently played in every format that I can with Gruta since then. So I played for, honestly, it was really just a couple weeks because we got the green light to go in early May of 2020. So I wasn't even really doing it that long, and I wasn't playing overseas. But it planted the seed. So Gruta, in particular, Gigan Cyberclaw Terror format here, was kind of like a fun card for me. I really enjoyed the deck. I liked the whole strategy of milling, picking even costed creatures, throwing them on the battlefield. Obviously, from my past M10 deck, I really like mill. So, I go overseas, not playing Magic, whatever. I come back. My favorite army for the Horus Heresy had finally got their rules and models and stuff. So actually, my deployment ended early. I went over there as the drawdown was starting to occur. This was still a year prior to the final withdrawal and all the chaos that happened at the Kabul International Airport and all that. I wasn't there for that. So a year before that, they were still drawing down across the country. So I actually got to come home about 6 months, about 6 months early, which was pretty nice. And I got hardcore back into the Warhammer: The Horus Heresy with my favorite army, the Dark Angels. They had just come out with the rules and the models for the different units, for Lionel Johnson, all that stuff. I'll definitely be doing some videos about that. I keep talking about it. It's happening, I promise. For anybody that is remotely interested in the Horus Heresy, that content is coming. But anyways, yeah, so I'm playing a lot of that, getting back into life in general. I just started a new job, working full-time for the military again. And then that winter, my friends keep poking me about, you come play Commander. And it just so happened that Wizards of the Coast released a brand new set specifically for Commander. And I would see it on the shelves and I'd be going in to play Warhammer. And I was like, you know what? Why not? What's a booster box? I'll just go pick it up. So I do. I pick up a box of Commander Legends and I'll put the picture in the in the video here. But I got my first box had some great pulls. I had Jeweled Lotus, Sakashima, like all sorts of pretty good pulls from the get-go there. And I pretty quickly got hooked hardcore because while they had been doing some of the cool alternate artwork for years, with like the different rewards cards. You had the Masterpiece series, like the Expeditions, the Invocations, and the Amonkhet series, which I never actually saw any of those. I didn't buy enough for that to be on my radar. And then of course all the Planeswalkers Masterpiece stuff. But in actual sets, from the time that I had left to the time I came back, you had really the start of the collector box era, which had brought in borderless cards, brought in extended art in the mainstream. I know we had the Ultimate Masters box toppers, which is really like the first big release of extended art cards, but it really hooked me. Like, the art is amazing. Not gonna lie, that is more than anything, just the beautiful art here is just incredible. And this card in particular has become by far my favorite. So I'm just gonna go through some of the cards and sets that like really continued to keep me engaged in this beautiful game that we play. So obviously Commander Legends had, the big three here. Awesome, gorgeous artwork, just very iconic, very striking. And I definitely picked up a bunch of Commander Legends product. Once I discovered the collector boxes, I was pretty much all in at that point, because I really just I like the fancy, beautiful art. Like, if I'm going to play Magic, I want to enjoy the cards that I'm looking at. I know that, a lot of people would rather have these in like a set of, or in like a binder or something like that. These are in my Gruta deck, so I do play with them. Gruta is my premier deck. I definitely put the most time and energy and money into making that deck awesome, or awesome looking at least. And then they also released the foil etch cards for the first time, which I think is actually really cool styling. I do like them a lot in the different formats that they had. Less enthusiastic about the Strixhaven ones. I think that's kind of a cop-out. Just a little, very subtle gold borders on what they consider to be foil etched. But in general, like, Commander Legends was an awesome product. I really, really liked it a lot. Additionally, this came up before I got back from overseas, but the product was very much out there. So I picked up a couple of the VIP packs and quickly got hooked on just the beautiful artwork from Double Masters, the original Double Masters, all the great borderless cards. I mean, it was just a really good set in general. So there's a lot of fun cards, and it's part of why I like the master sets too. Is that I get to see cards that I have interacted with in past experiences with Magic. So for me, there's a lot of nostalgia involved with that as well. So it's not just like, oh, all the most powerful, fanciest cards are in the master sets. That's true, and I do enjoy that because my different play groups that I'm in here locally tend to go pretty hard. We're not CDH level, but we're pretty darn close in a lot of the circles there. So obviously, I'm to stay somewhat relevant. I definitely keep up with that. But they're just really like cool cards. They're fun. It's great to see some of the old ones. Like you'll see every now and then you'll see like a Sarah Angel come back or Shivan Dragon or something like that. The Dominaria Remastered just announced Jester's Cap is coming back, which I'm pretty excited about. Obviously, the original art is 100% where it's at for me. Like you're never gonna top that guy. I think he just looks super cool. It's such an iconic piece of Magic's history there, and it's like I will forever remember this card because this was a huge part of my childhood. Like anybody that pulled a Jester's Cap won the lottery back then, with at least with my group of friends. A bunch of middle schoolers getting maybe a pack or two every month. So it was pretty exciting. But it's cool that they're bringing it back. So that those were awesome. Zendikar was out as well, and then I got introduced to the expeditions, which I thought were pretty awesome. It's really neat to like get all these different alternate artworks. Like I came back at a time when it's not quite to today's level, but Wizards of the Coast really was ramping up their variety and alternate art, extended art. Pick a Format Showcase was coming out shortly with what was the first showcase set? Or actually Zendikar. Well, I guess technically Thrones of Eldraine had it too. So they've had showcase the whole time, but like showcase pieces, like all the different ones. So there's just like a lot of, for somebody like me who enjoys the art and the different stylings and stuff like that as much as I do actually playing the game. Like this, it was like entering the golden era that I didn't know existed. So those came out. Then you had Time Spiral Remastered, which I got as many boxes as I could get, which was not very many locally. I didn't think it was going to be gone that quickly. But this one kind of brought me back to the old style, to the retro frame, which I haven't done anything specifically with from like a commander deck perspective. I collect a lot of them, but my intent has actually been to go back and do a full retro themed commander deck. And then of course now we get the Brothers War coming out, where it will be, so that'll make it a lot easier to build, although not quite as original. But I thought all the retro frame cards were really cool. Then you get into Strixhaven, which has the really neat Japanese alternate art. I don't play with a lot of these, just the ones that I know by heart, don't have to look up constantly. But I just thought that they really did a really nice job with them. Like they're just cool looking cards. It's very different, and the fact that they put them in in the collector boxes and all that stuff I thought was really cool. So Strixhaven as a set, I'm not super excited about this. I think that it's very underrated in general. There's a lot of good cards in there, but it did not maintain any level of value, even within a very short period of time of release. All the dragons, the elder dragons and stuff just tanked and have not really recovered. But these cards are cool, and honestly I really like the Mystical Archive. I think the Masterpiece concept is pretty awesome. I would say that this version of it is obviously less exclusive because you get so many of them in guaranteed, basically, in the collector boxes and packs. But just the concept of it, I think, is pretty cool. So I hope that they continue to do that. And I think we'll see what the Brothers War holds, because all the serialized cards and stuff is kind of going down that path, but in a slightly different direction. So we'll see. And then we get into the summer of 2021 with the amazing set Modern Horizons 2. And I had a blast with this set. I was actually back on the East Coast doing some training for the whole summer, and was in a place that had a lot of opportunities to like visit different stores within a fairly small radius, which I understand is pretty common on the East Coast. Like I grew up there, I get it. Where I live in Nevada, even in a larger city, one of the larger cities in the state, there is not much around us. Like you got to go over to California or drive a long way to like Utah or something like that. It's not like back east where every 10, 15 miles is another city, another town, another village or whatever. There's literally nothing between all the points of civilization in this state. So I could count on one hand pretty much in my local area, like how many stores we have. So to be able to, like every weekend I would just get in the car and just go explore and check out different stores and stuff. And that ended up with me buying probably a lot more than I would have normally. But I love the set. It's a great set. It really is a ton of fun. They did such a beautiful job. It's got everything that I enjoy, to be honest with you. It's got a great land cycle. It's got the retro frame, which I think is cool. It's got awesome borderless cards. And I would say some of the showcases are kind of hit or miss, but some of them are really cool. Like Arcana Cruelty and Cauldron Complete, I think, are pretty neat showcase. But I really enjoyed that set a lot. Especially with looking back at the standard sets that came after, we really didn't get like a super fun, exciting product that I was actually enjoying quite a bit until the year after that. So I definitely enjoyed that. I definitely have to give a shout out to some of my favorite basic lands that they've come out with. I know a lot of people don't like them, but I really enjoyed the Innistrad basic land set between the two, Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow. I don't know. I like it a lot. I think it's very subtle, but it looks really cool. And this was also kind of where they went all in with new amazing basic lands every basic or every standard set. So I really like lands. I collect as many as I can, so I maintain all these basic lands that come out. But I would say I'm less looking to get a lot of each of them. I definitely keep the ones that I get when I get collector boxes and stuff. But with the volume that they're coming out with, I'm starting to become a little bit more selective because I just don't really care that much. They are basic lands at the end of the day, even if they look beautiful. And then, of course, they came out with the pretty cool Count Dracula series there, which I thought was pretty neat. I know, again, like not a ton of value there, but I thought it was kind of a cool concept. It's a universe that lends itself pretty well, better than some areas to Magic the Gathering. And I could talk about the other sets, but honestly, I really like Kamigawa was cool. I got some cool stuff out of there. I actually really like Streets of New Capenna and Baldur's Gate, but again, like there was nothing in them that was just like really like something that would stick out of my brain or I'd want to talk about. Like the cool products. I think especially Baldur's Gate and New Capenna is gonna do age very well over time. I think that the initial reaction just was not well received for the quality of the product. In Baldur's Gate's particular point there, they definitely way overpriced that set. That should have just been a normal price. That was not a premium product. But the value in the actual set, like for what you can buy the sealed product now, is actually pretty good. Like the Elder Dragons are all holding, or the Ancient Dragons, sorry, are all holding their value. It's got a good land cycle that's gonna hold well over time. The Battle Bond lands. And then it's also got some pretty good cards just in general in there, like Displacer Kitten, the Archivist, the Black Market Connections, I think, is the enchantment. When you actually look at the value of it, there's a decent number of cards in the set that are $5 or more. So, but not enough for me to pull anything out. And then, of course, we get to where you all started this journey with me. The Double Masters 2022. There's a ton of awesome cards in there. You've seen a ton of videos of me opening the product, so I'm not going to belabor it too much. But I really loved it. I had very fond memories of finding and opening the different packs or the VIP and the other packs for Double Masters. So I was really excited when they announced a new one, and without even knowing what the cards were, I pre-ordered a bunch. I was really excited about it, and turns out I was right. It was great. I really hope that they continue to do that. I don't know how much they can top all that without starting to reprint all the big cards, but I thought it was awesome. I really really liked it, and it seems like a lot of people did too. So then we get into some of the some of the more recent sets, and I debated about putting these cards in, but I have to say the foil and the textured foil stained glass cards really are pretty visually incredible. May or may not play with them. I don't know, but just the artistic quality and like how well the foiling lends itself to a lot of these, especially in the stained glass format, is just it's hard to describe without actually being able to see them in person. Like they did such an incredible job with this, and I really have high hopes for the future. And as you can see, overall, I know I double sleeved these, but that these have just been sitting in a stack on one of my tables. I haven't actually sorted them or put them away yet. Kind of behind on all that, but they really are not curling. I mean, when you look at like the Commander Legends cards, the foils and stuff like that, like they were terrible. I have boxes of Commander Legends commons and uncommons that I just gave up on. As soon as the packs opened, they started curling. I did what I could for the rares and for the complete set that I put in a binder, but beyond that, that's just a bunch of wasted cardboard and product, which really sucks because it's such a fun, great set. But visually, they're really improving their quality or continue to outdo themselves, and the actual quality itself continues to improve, it feels like. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I thought that was pretty cool, and I really like those. And then we get to and the reason why I put these in here is because we don't often, or up until recently, within the last few sets, we weren't seeing much variety in terms of like innovation on the foil front, outside of it just being bad quality. So now we're starting to see a lot of the different stuff, like the textured foil. Now we have the galaxy foils and stuff like that. And they really, I don't plan on buying any more of the Infinity sealed product. I have picked up all the cards I need for my Borderless cube to include the basic lands. I'm doing a full set of the basic lands for the cube from this set because I think they're really cool. But they just did such a nice job with this. I know sci-fi, planetary stuff may or may not resonate with everybody, but it's just really such a beautiful, beautiful product there. And the galaxy foil is pretty cool. I am impressed. Same thing with the surge foiling for the Warhammer 40,000 stuff. I wasn't expecting much. I actually wasn't planning on buying any, to be honest. At least not the collector one. And then I went into my local game store for my weekly Commander League, and it turned out that they actually had them for a a surprisingly competitive price compared to online. Like by buying all four of them there, it was several $100s. Well, maybe not. It was under $100 less than what I would have paid online, which was pretty impressive because usually that store, I mean, it's my favorite local store. I support it as much as I can, but they are not great. Not super competitive with the pricing compared to online. So it ended up being a great deal. But some of the people I was playing with had previously picked those up, so they had them, and I got to actually look at the surge foiling, and it's actually really good. They curl in kind of an odd way, the decks as a whole. Not like the normal Pringles. It's more of like a long curl than the side one, but it is what it is. It's still really cool. And then this might be a little controversial because I know some people love it, some people hate it. But then on top of all this, since I've been back, you have the secret layers. I definitely have not been buying all of them. I am now actively pursuing all of the borderless ones that when they come out, because I am working on that cube, continue to build it and grow it. But they have some really cool stuff in Secret Lair, and for buying the cards that you want versus like just buying all of them, you definitely can get some really cool, unique stylings and quality that you wouldn't otherwise get. So like the stained glass ones I think are really cool. They tend to mirror the showcases for a lot of the sets that come out, so you get an alternate version of a card that looks like it would have been in the set but was from a different one. So in this case, Drown in the Loch was not in Strixhaven Mystical Archive, but you could get it for the old Secret Lair there, and you get the cool Phyrexian stuff, which I think is pretty neat. I do like that on cards that I know how to read or know what they are. And then you get just a bunch of awesome, really cool random artwork. And I just picked some stuff that I had laying around for a deck that I was getting ready to build. But just an example of like just really beautiful new artwork. And I know art's very subjective. Not everybody will like the same stuff. But I personally like the fact that it's available. If you want to buy it, great. If you don't. That doesn't hurt you at all. Outside of a few very controversial secret layers, any of those cards in the secret layer you could just buy normally. You don't have to get their version. So again, outside of a few controversial ones, which we won't get into, but I personally like the fact that it's available and you can get it if you want it. So I appreciate everybody that stuck around for this. Like I said, this is I just wanted to reflect a little bit on what Magic has meant to me, like where my path has brought me to and in and out of Magic's orbit, if you will. And that's just kind of it's kind of a fun little way to take a stroll down memory lane and look at some of the cards and talk about some of the stuff that meant a lot to me over the years. I've been playing it for off and on for most of my life, actually, at this point. So it's a fun product, beautiful artwork. I definitely hope that it continues to grow and thrive. I know there's always ups and downs. Can't make everybody happy. Things are definitely controversial when you wouldn't expect them to be. But it's fun to be able to celebrate it. It's something that's had some degree of meaning for people that have played it over the course of their times that they've been associated with it. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap part one up here. I know this ended up being a pretty long video, but I kind of figured it was going to be. Would love to hear what everyone else's thoughts were as far as like what Magic's meant to them, like where they came in and out of it. Is anybody similar, like coming and going? Has anybody been staying the course and playing the entire time for the full 30 years? Like what does that look like to you? Do you have all the cards that are most of your collection? Have you been getting, just like keeping what's rotating with standard or whatever? So yeah. Definitely throw some comments down there about that. And then if you like what you saw, give me a like. And if you want to see more, please subscribe. Like I said, this is going to be a multi-part series, at least 2 parts. So the second one will be coming out probably, my intention is to do it before we get to, before I leave for Magic 30. Because I do plan on at least taking some videos down there. I don't know how much content I definitely won't do any live stuff, but I don't know how much content I'll produce down there. But I will probably try to capture some videos and photos and stuff, and at least make a recap video at the end or something. So yeah, thanks again, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed it. I know this is a little different from the pack cracking stuff, but that'll continue to be regularly posted. And until my next video, hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time.